actually going to transition and yield to Dr. Bethel, who will be our moderator for our next session, which is our panel discussion session. We do have um, our three of our presenters for the panel discussion who will be leading us in the room. I see we have, of course, Dr. Allen. I also see Dr. Stephen Carlo from Monmouth University in the chat, and Miss Albert from Princeton University. So, Dr. Bethel, that is our current participation suite.
Yeah.
The order is listed, and the others, as they join us, we will actually, you can slot them in somewhere afterwards, okay?
Okay. So, Mrs. Robinson, I'm going to ask if you could just
In-
do you have the slide
Introductions?
presentation?
Yeah?
No, no,
Uh-huh.
I have the introductions.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
gonna give the introductions, but
Okay.
I can't keep those in my memory. So if you could share the background, and then I
Okay.
will give the introductions into it.
Introduction, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Sharing now.
Thank you. Perfect. Oh, it just
It's
disappeared.
coming. It's coming.
Okay.
Hold on.
It was up for 1 second.
Yeah, no, it's coming. I don't know what's going on with Microsoft and Outlook. It's just, I
Yeah,
don't know if it's
I,
Cable Bahamas or
I had
it's
the
just
same issue.
really, really slow and loading.
Okay.
Um, if anything, what I'll do is but you could, let's see here. Okay, 1 second. You stop share. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just share it as a still image or something because it's just
Yeah, that would be if
yeah.
or if not, it's not critical that we have it in the background. I can just go ahead if you would prefer.
Okay, 1 second. Oh, wrong thing. Okay, my
Yeah.
computer's moving really, really slow.
No, no worries.
So yeah, let's go on
I'll
without it.
just go ahead
Yeah,
and
I don't
describe
know
it.
what's going on but I'll be working
Yeah,
on it.
no,
Yeah.
I had the same issues yesterday. I had to do
Yesterday.
exactly what you said and just capture them as images.
Mhm.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our first panel discussion of the training series. This panel is entitled Navigating the Digital Shift, Overcoming Challenges, and Celebrating Success in Designing Inclusive Online Degree Programs and Courses. This is particularly timely because it captures each of the points that I was trying to underscore in the presentation of the Department of Open Learning's mission that I just described. And we are privileged to invite four distinguished speakers to give brief remarks uh, on the panel topic. I'm going to introduce all of them up front so that when it's each panelist's turn to speak, they can just go ahead, um, grab the screen share, and if they have slides, share their slides and give their presentation. Our first speaker is Dr. Dee Allen of the University of the Bahamas. Dr. Allen is a senior academic and executive with over 25 years of experience in law, business, and higher education. She has led education and training projects in collaboration with corporations, financial regulators, government, and development agencies. She is currently the assistant provost and vice president. She is currently the assistant provost for innovation at the University of the Bahamas, and indeed is the um, the the lead administrator to whom the Department of Open Learning reports. She was recently the head of capacity building and education the lead in regulation and policy, and an executive team member at the Cambridge Center for Alternative Finance, University of Cambridge Judge Business School, with whom UB last year partnered to offer our first University of Bahamas FinTech regulation and innovation. I just know it by UBFTRI. The, the course in FinTech and FinTech regulation and innovation. There at Judge Business School, Dr. Allen directed the Global Cambridge FinTech and Regulatory Innovation Program, training over 2,000 regulators from 315 institutions across 150 countries. Dr. Allen is a board member of the Alliance of Digital Finance and FinTech Associations, an academic and global programs advisor at the CCAF, Cambridge University, and is also an associate professor in FinTech and financial innovation. She holds an LLB, LLM, and PhD focused on entrepreneurship. And I've changed her mind. I don't want to dilute our picture of Dr. Allen by going through all of the other biographies. So I'm just going to turn the floor over to Dr. Allen now so she can bring her remarks. Dr. Allen, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Dr. Bethel, and good morning to everybody. Thank you for that introduction. It was quite long, so perhaps we need to make it shorter next time, but thank you so much for all the things you said about me. I haven't got a presentation, but I wanted to talk about that Cambridge FinTech and Regulatory Innovation Program, which we've now also adopted here at UB as the UB FinTech and Regulatory Innovation Program. It was an online program. And I thought the best thing to do is to tell you the story about this course, to tell you how we designed the course back in 2019 at Cambridge University, and how we made sure in that design of that course and that program, we really thought about accessibility all the way. So I just wanted to tell you the story, some of the challenges we had, and how we've now managed to bring that same program here to UB, and now we're delivering the same program here at the University of the Bahamas. So the Cambridge FinTech and Regulatory Innovation Program is an online program designed for regulators, policymakers, and senior executives working in financial institutions. And because of the rise of FinTech, which stands for financial technology, we saw the need to actually train and educate regulators, policymakers on financial technology. For instance, what is crypto assets? What is mobile payments? What is digital lending? What does it mean to go online and open a bank account and provide online banking services? We wanted to really provide that education, but also look at the challenges in relation to online banking and digital assets and crypto assets. So we felt the need to run this short course, which was certificated by Cambridge University. So right at the start, we have an international audience. We have people from Asia, Africa, the Caribbean, Europe. We had almost 80 participants here from the UB, from the Central Bank of the Bahamas, from the Securities Commission of the Bahamas, as well as the Insurance Commission of the Bahamas, coming to do this program with us in Cambridge. So we had to think about pedagogical accessibility, content accessibility, platform accessibility, and also assessment accessibility. Those things were really crucial for us right at the start of the design of this course. We also decided that this course was going to be a synchronous online course where we provided live lectures every week of the course, as if you were in the classroom, but it was online. So it was a synchronous online course. We also made it asynchronous, where we put all the content of the course on our Moodle platform so that the learners could also learn at their own pace. for this course. The synchronous course was designed in such a way that we had weekly live lectures where we had subject matter expert who would deliver the lecture, provide the knowledge, but we also allowed for engagement. We got students to actually go into breakout rooms where we could actually discuss the topics. So there is a chance for students to talk and have peer-to-peer engagement. Then we also have one-to-one tutorial sessions as part of the course offering, where the tutors had a chance to have one-to-one sessions with our learners. We made sure that all the content on Moodle was in plain language. We provided a glossary of keywords. We made sure that our learners could go into Moodle at their own pace to download the course materials, which met all the content requirements. We also made sure they had a chance to have forum discussions on Moodle as well. And we also made sure the assessment made sense. We gave our learners options and a flexible way of doing the assessment. We made it practical, so that way that they could actually take the assessment and they can get it done. And at the end of the program, we got our students to present their capstone projects as their assessment. So we thought about different ways of making this learning work. And in one cohort, I had 150 learners in just one cohort from several countries, Spanish-speaking countries, Portuguese-speaking countries, French-speaking countries. So it was very important for us to also think about the language issues. So we made sure we had several tutorial groups that are Spanish tutors to teach the content in Spanish, as well as Portuguese and as well as French. We even allowed our students to submit their assessments in their languages, whether it's in Spanish, in French or Portuguese, so the tutor can then give the feedback accordingly. So we thought also about the language issues. In addition to that, we had students coming from countries where they had low bandwidth in terms of, having access to the content. So we had to make sure that contents was downloadable for them to use. We also made sure that if you're using a mobile phone, you can still access content accordingly. So we really thought about the design of the program because we had a diverse audience in terms of language. We had a diverse audience in terms of neurodiversity as well. So we thought about all of that. And so we made sure we designed this synchronous, asynchronous course right from the start, which was online. So the live lectures were done via Zoom, and then asynchronous content was on Moodle. And we then ran this program for about 5 years, and then eventually the same program was then adopted here in the University of the Bahamas, led by myself and Dr. Eddie Bethel, as well as another member of staff, Dr. Tanya McCartney. And we delivered a similar program here at UB for the Bahamian audience. I just wanted to quickly show you the Moodle page for this course, so to show you how we laid out the course, courtesy of Dr. Bethel, if you don't mind. So I'm going to try and share my screen and show it to you so you can just have a visual sort of image of what we did. And then I'll be open for questions to explain more about how we ran the course. So if I'm able to be co-hosted to share, this is the UB version of the course. Hopefully you can all see it, which was designed, and we delivered it back in 2024. And as you can see, we have it laid out really, in tiles in terms of module by module to make it really easy for our learners to follow the course. We had different sections that will tell you about, I'm just trying to make sure I can get the screen, you can look up and down. We also able to check engagement of our learners. We had useful resources, the live lecture and tutorial sessions information there. So we'll upload the lecture content as well as the tutorial content. We had the assessment with clear guidelines as to what we wanted for the assessment that they should be doing. And then we just really had the welcome and orientation the modules that we delivered, and it was delivered per semester, and then end of program information. And in addition to having this asynchronous content, like I said before, we had live tutor support throughout the program for our participants. And like we said, to date, I've had over 2,000 people come through these courses. We've just done a cohort last term here at UB where we decided to go hybrid. We had the first lecture in person, then we went online, and when we had the final lecture in person where we all met in person as well. So really, it's important that we do think about pedagogical accessibility, assessment accessibility, like I said, content accessibility, and platform accessibility. So that's really what I wanted to share, and I'm happy to have any questions and answer them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Allen. It was a pleasure and a challenge ensuring that the UBFTRI course ran successfully. And I want to take this opportunity to use this as an advertisement for the upcoming cohort of the UBFTRI. We'll be not only offering it as an entire certification, but we will also be breaking out relevant modules for targeted micro-credentials, as we were mentioning yesterday. So if any of you have an interest in fintech or fintech regulation, please watch this space.
Thank you.
Anyone have any comments, questions for Dr. Allen?
That's good, then. Wonderful.
It must have been, yeah, it was obviously a clear and to the point presentation. And we then are going to move on to our second speaker. I noticed that Dr. Jawala did come into the meeting. I don't see him now. I just want to be.
You saw him because
Okay, perfect.
You saw him?
Fantastic.
You see
Yes,
him?
yes,
Okay.
he's just turned on his camera. Fantastic.
Okay.
Our second speaker is Dr. Rohan Jawala of the University of Central Florida. Dr. Jawala is described as an AI pedagogy and inclusion specialist, a global educator and international speaker. This Jamaican native is a distinguished educator, researcher, and global thought leader in AI, inclusive pedagogy, and digital transformation in education. With over 30 years experience across the Caribbean, the UK, the US, and international organizations, he shaped policy, curriculum, and practice worldwide. He is the author of AI Pedagogy and Inclusion, Shaping Pedagogy in a Changing World, that was published last year. A prolific keynote speaker, Dr. Jawala has presented at UNESCO, G20 Inclusive Summits, and leading universities, and the creator of more than 40 AI-driven educational tools and 100 plus custom GPTs supporting educators globally. A senior instructional designer at the University of Central Florida, Dr. Jawala is widely recognized for advancing ethical, accessible, and inclusive AI adoption across diverse educational ecosystems. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Rohan Jawala.
Thank you so much for the invite. If you're hearing me at this point, please indicate. Wonderful. I must say that the New Year's came up so early, and I've been thinking a lot of things, and I want to talk about certain things for another 10 minutes. I don't have any slides, but I just want to give you an overview of what's happening. So as you know, we have made a shift, and the shift has really required us to think deep. And in that shift, I realized that many individuals are somewhat on board, but we have a disconnect. The disconnection rests in the issues of gaps in policy, students not knowing what to do, faculty are falling in a space that they need a training. And where we think competencies are, we don't have them in some places. As a matter of fact, I am also an individual that I am a mentor for several universities, and we see that coming out. But if we were to design successful courses in the digital age for online, we have to really think about certain things. For example, the platform. How are we going to navigate these spaces? The way courses were designed a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, is totally different now. And I want to point out a mechanism. If we're to build online, we have to think about pedagogical practices. We have to think about employing those relevant accessibility strategies. We have to think about credentialing strategies. We have to think about student engagement strategies. And we're building all of these in one. But I'm saying to you at this point in time, how do you enable yourself to think critically as you're developing this course? Can we take on this element of unique consciousness as we develop them? And I'm saying to you at this point in time, the road for online success requires a level of skill sets that we might not have, but we can harness. And when I talk about harnessing these skill sets, I'm thinking about how do we use the skills that are out there? And that is why I want to present to you one major thing that you can now use. And I'm sharing my insight because this is so recent as yesterday, this morning, and of course, it's going to guide you into the future. Anyone is using Claude? Are you using Claude? Claude, all right, I'm going to tell you about Claude. People have said Claude is their best friend. It is not my best friend because an AI cannot be my friend. All right. So let's get that clear. I don't want an AI to be my friend because AI has no heart, it has no soul. And the other day I saw someone getting married to the virtual reality person. I'm saying to myself, I had to do a video on that one. But I want to tell you about Claude Skills because I think when you leave here, you're going to try it because it gives you an insight how you can obviously deal with some of their struggles and implement success in online degrees using artificial intelligence. So think about this. You have 10 agents working for you. The 10 agents have 10 skills. And what I will also do, I'm working on a video that once finished, I will give you access to that video because I want people to understand what I'm talking about. But just think about an agent that can design your assignments, an agent that can write your course curriculum outline, an agent that can do a Canva post for you and create 4 options that you can choose from. Another agent that can say, all right, you know what? I'm not going to be there next week or the week after, but I want you to run some announcements for the entire duration of that 12 weeks course. And then an agent that can also do other things. But I want to say to you at this point in time, it's here. Claude now has what it has, a set of skills. And you can go on the back end. It's a bit technical because I had to search for it a bit. You can go on the back end, you can pull up if you're a user of Claude, and you can develop these 10 skills. So 2 days ago, I actually went into Claude. I decided that I would want a skill that could design a curriculum overview outline. And that was one skill. I wanted another skill that could do my weekly announcements. And that was another skill. And I wanted a skill that could talk back to my Canva account and produce a PowerPoint. And then another skill that I said, you know what? I'm going to work on this one because I want an assessment skill so I can use and design assessment. No, here it is. You remember when you used to put your thing in ChatGPT and then you had to write a prompt? These skills are refined by, of course, Claude in such a way that if Claude noticed that that skill can be developed in a subskill, it will do that. Now, remember, you've built these skills and they're in the back end. You're not a coder. All you're actually doing is saying and writing, and Claude is fine-tuning these skills, then you add it. So you go onto another section now and you start a project. Once you start that project, you're going to say to Claude, my course development project, and you're going to write in that chat, I want a course plan, I want a curriculum development, I want my lesson plans, I want my announcements, and I want you to produce. Don't overload it too much. You see what I'm saying? Try to do it as little as possible. For example, ask for two. But what it will do at the back end is remember all those skills that you have designed in the back end and align it with that chat. That's beautiful. The outcome of that is a beautiful course outline with course outcomes, objectives, several PowerPoints that you can select from Canva. It gives you options. Sometimes I don't like it because it's not giving me my authentic Caribbean context. And then it can do so many things. So what I'm saying is you're designing a set, but after all is created, and by the way, it gave me the course outline with 15 pages of text that I could actually now edit, review, and contextualize for my course. So if you're thinking about the digital shift, and some individuals will say, you know what, I don't want to go use Claude because my institution is against it. I'm saying to you, hold on. Other people are using it. So how do we have a policy that applies in such a way that I can use it and I can explore? As I said to a group yesterday, sorry, my smart glasses is on. I need to mute that a bit. So yeah, I'm wearing also meta glasses. Sorry. But what I'm saying at this point is that we are at a stage in our domain that we can look at insights. And I'm sharing this because I think it's so new that educators, it will change how you think about course design because you have these tools that you can develop a set of skills. How many of us you go through a system and, oh, I didn't remember to put in Blooms. I didn't remember to put in that sort of framework. I didn't remember to put in that assessment. No, I have to redesign the assessment, look all over it. No, you develop the 5 fundamental skills that are required that talks about student interaction, pedagogy, and all of these skill sets at the back end. And when you're doing your little prompt now, it pulls from these skills because it's smart enough to understand what skill is needed to complete that task. And some people call it Claude skills. So if I'm saying to you at this point, ChatGPT doesn't have that. I've created over 110 ChatGPTs, custom ChatGPTs, and this one that I've used with Claude has been the most powerful because it pulls back on everything that I need to complete the task. And of course, it's connected to my Google, Gmail, and so many other things. So I urge you, not even if you're not thinking about Claude or one of these things, we have to think about how the digital shift is going to affect us. And if we're thinking about production of courses and the quality of courses, and by the way, another frame that it pulled into the skill that I realized I was doing is the accreditation. So while I was doing the course design, it was pulling in the accreditation elements that were necessary. Isn't that a beautiful tool? Some things that you'll forget, you'll remember as the production is being produced. And by the way, you're seeing it in real time, these files being created. Having said that, go back to my starting point. It might not be a Claude. It might not be a ChatGPT, but if we're moving towards a digital shift, we have to understand engagement is going to be critical in overcoming some of the challenges. And as we go through, and yesterday when I came up with it, I celebrated. I said, wow, my job is finished. I've lost my job because no. Yeah, but the element of checking, the human element comes in again, and we have to pause and reflect and remember without human oversight some of these elements also, because it's coming from the web and you have to verify, put your course content in. It shows you how much we are needed more than ever because we are going to be judges of these elements and enabling them, of course, to be aligned with our university or policies or practices. But notwithstanding, I just wanted to share that tool, that thought of how we can practically triple fold our production line if we have access to tools that can give us the time to think more critically about student engagement, but can also help us in developing. By the way, these are my skills because I use Claude to develop them. So they are my skills. You can all create your own skills and then apply them to your task. And finally, I heard someone talk about financial stuff this morning. So I just want to say to you at this point, I did create one that can now compare two stocks, give me analysis, and then give me a PowerPoint presentation in Canva on that. So therefore, it can be applied to all fields. I'll stop at this point. Thanks for allowing me to talk.
Thanks, Dr. Jwala. That was a fantastic presentation. Before I open up the floor to comments and questions, I just want to highlight a point in your presentation that really made me smile when you said, remember how you used to type prompts into ChatGPT? This is something of that many people are just starting up with now, but the way that you described it really underscores how quickly uh, AI is being integrated into every aspect of our life. For people like you who work with AI every day, ChatGPT now is a thing in the long past, while some of us are just learning how to create an account on ChatGPT. So that really is an eye opener, and I really would like to learn more about how we can use Claude to build skills to make our work easier. Um, so there is someone who is labeled as Edward Bethel. Oh, that's Dr.
That's
Bridget.
Dr. Hines, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Dr. Hines, go ahead.
Yes, and good morning. And it's so wonderful to be with you again. I am
Morning.
quickly going to ask, where is Marley, Sparrow, and Sizzler? Where is the Caribbean? Where is the Caribbean program that we will use that is culturally sensitive and relevant? So this is an exciting time for you to not only create courses for your faculty, and I congratulate you, but have your faculty or yourself uh, put into the coursework for students, building a chat GPT that is
Hmm.
culturally relevant. Please, I applaud you and I thank you. I can't wait to see you roll that out.
Fantastic.
And lastly, in the previous presentation, I wondered at how we make our arguments. Again, for school coursework, it is easy in a university to commission your graduate students or what have you to ground our experiences in research. So that if
Hmm.
you want to say, how did COVID affect our blah, 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 or you're making a point about something, where's the data? Where's your
Hmm.
research? You know, you
Hmm.
can write, publish your
Hmm.
findings with your students. What an experience. Let's
Absolutely.
do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Thank you so much.
Okay, absolutely. Dr. Pender.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. And it's so nice to see you again, Dr. Jawala. You were on my dissertation, on my thesis team at UWI back in 2011. But good to
Okay,
see you again, sir.
good to see you.
Just a quick question and comment. Is Claude free of charge, or do you have different tiers? So it's free at a certain level, and then at some point you have to pay for it.
Okay, when started using Claude, I realized that I might not have had access to that layer that I wanted. Claude now is presently 17 US dollars per month. When I started to develop the course and was practically near completion of the course as it relates to the majority of it, I realized I ran out of usage for that time and would not be scheduled until a couple hours. So I paid, knowing myself, because I wanted to see the outcome, I paid another $10 for access. So I think it's minimum. And I always say, Doctor, that there's also a need for sometimes you pay for at least, I'm telling people, at least one AI product that you think will do
Hmm.
certain things. And the question is always asked, can one product do everything I want? And the answer is no. So
Hmm.
so that's it. But I always do that too. Pay for I can't even tell you subscriptions I have, but I'll stop right there.
Yeah, and Dr. Pinder, just note that Claude is actually more affordable than the first paid level of ChatGPT. So I can recommend. I have the free versions of all of them, but I'm definitely going to explore the paid version of Claude after listening to Dr. Chawala. Dr. Allen, go ahead.
Yeah, just thank you so much. That was a really great presentation. I really enjoyed your presentation, Dr. Jawala. And ironically, we at UB, we're talking about use of AI in our education programs, as well as plagiarism and the problems that AI brings when it comes to plagiarism. And so it's really refreshing to hear you making a recommendation. And so I just wanted to let everybody know that we have an AI and Innovation Advisory Group here at UB, and we're trying to discuss these sort of issues and to create more AI awareness. And it's good to know that Claude is a potential tool that we could consider to use. So thank you for that recommendation. And I will quickly go back to what Dr. Hines was saying. I really agree that it's important to have our students do the research as well. So a really good example from the FinTech courses, this most recent cohort, we had UB students do some empirical research on Sand dollar adoption. It's the first ever digital currency in the world. And it was here in the Bahamas, we introduced it. So we've just done some research on that. And it's an opportunity for us again to look at how we can collaborate with other Caribbean countries and to look at how digital currency has been adopted. So I agree with you, Dr. Hines, we need local, regional emphasis, and we're trying to do that. And AI sovereignty is really important as well for us in the Bahamas and beyond. So I just wanted to agree with your comments and thank Dr. Jawala for the recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Allen, for those comments. I can only underscore what Dr. Allen said about the students' presentations on the sand dollar. I came to the presentations and was really blown away by the detail of work that they had put into their research. And I don't know whether it was recorded, but if it is, I would urge everyone to take a listen to some of the things that they have proposed. Any further questions or comments for Dr. Jawala? I am not seeing any, so we're going to move right along. Thank you so much, Dr. Jawala. That was a fantastic presentation. I'm really excited that we've had great presentations so far, and knowing the presenters that are coming up. I know that we're going to go from strength to strength in today's panel. Our third speaker, many of you would have heard from yesterday. I'm going to because we did introduce her yesterday, I'm going to abbreviate her bio somewhat. Our third speaker is Mary Albert, the Senior Director of Accessibility in the Office of the VP for Information and Technology at Princeton University. She leads Princeton University's digital accessibility efforts, helping to ensure that the institution's digital resources for teaching and learning, research, and community engagement are accessible and welcoming to people with disabilities. Mary founded and leads the Office of Information Technology's Digital Accessibility Program and is responsible for all aspects of its design and implementation. She is known for her strengths in partnership building and forward thinking that propel the digital accessibility program's success and that have made it a model for other organizations. I stress the partnership side of it because after listening to her presentation yesterday, I'm keen to see how UB can increase, not let this just be a one-off event, but reach out and see if we can partner with her unit to learn some of the things that have been successful at Princeton to see whether we can adopt them here. Please join me in welcoming once again Mary Albert, the Senior Director of Accessibility at Princeton.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bethel, and nice to see everyone again this morning. Excited to be back and very stimulated by this conversation. It's fantastic, and I hope that what I share with you today about our successes and challenges that we faced in designing online courses to be inclusive, this will be very helpful to you. Just as what I've been learning from you has been helpful to me. So just a little bit of background about Princeton's online courses. I'm going to be covering both types. Princeton does publish massive online open courses. That program started in 2012, so those are free and open to the world. Thus far, over 3 million learners have used those courses in 190 countries. So that's the open, massive online open courses. But then we've also got the management and use of the learning management system and different professors' use of that and other digital technologies for teaching the courses that are internal to the university. Okay, so I'm going to start with some challenges, and some of those we did turn into successes, and then I'll move into what I think are just sort of general successes and what I hope is practical information for you. So when the online course program started at Princeton, it was 2012. That was 4 years before we established a program in digital accessibility. And so in 2016, we went back and remediated courses that were already open to the public to ensure that they were accessible to people with disabilities. So one challenge in particular that we were concerned about was a math-heavy course. It had a lot of formulae in it, and we needed to use MathML, math markup language, to ensure that those were accessible to students who use, we talked about screen readers yesterday, other assistive technology. The content has to be structured properly and tagged properly in order for it to be accessible to such students. And we were quite worried about that. We thought it was going to be a huge expense. But this turned into very unexpected success. A graduate student who was assisting and teaching that course over the weekend learned how to tag all of the formulae and did it. It was just an incredible amount of work. They got it done and we were good to go. That was one of the big ones. Another one was training the instructional designers. We have a Center for Teaching and Learning. We trained the instructional designers in accessibility and in how to test courses. And I am happy to say that the center's director of online learning and all of the instructional designers are actually certified in accessibility through the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. And so they have been a key partner to us and us to them as well through that. So another challenge that we figured out was how to caption videos that were being used in courses. So students who are hard of hearing, deaf, rely on captions, but captions are also extremely helpful to other kinds of learners, particularly students who are not native speakers of the language in which the course is being taught, but others as well. So now all videos that are used in courses we use a system called Panopto. They are automatically captioned. So instructors, professors do not need to do it themselves, which would, as you can imagine, be extremely labor intensive. An ongoing challenge for us and for me and my team in digital accessibility is to continue to ensure that the learning management system, the platform itself, we use Canvas, remains accessible. And that includes all of what are called LTIs. So these are the third-party applications that we attach to the learning management system, for all sorts of things, assessments and other uses. So we test those, but the big challenge is that we are dependent on the vendors, the people who have developed those LTIs. Some are highly responsive, some are already, before we deploy them, they're already accessible. But it is not always the case. At this point, we have a small number of what are called accessibility blockers, right, that prevents students with certain disabilities to be able to participate using these technologies. We've got to break down those blockers. So we're down to a few, but again, our priorities are not necessarily the priorities of the vendors. So it can take a while. Another challenge has been, certainly in the public courses, the change of platforms. I think we're now on our 4th platform, so courses have to be ported. All right, so let's move on to some successes. So the Center for Teaching and Learning got on board very early with accessibility as soon as we started the digital accessibility program. And they advise and provide support for faculty who are interested in teaching, equitably and exclusively, and ensuring that their courses are accessible. So in addition to that, they do one-on-one advising. They also provide general training for faculty. They have regular sessions scheduled. They also communicate regularly about accessibility through their newsletter that goes out to all the faculty and all the graduate students. And in that they invite them to learn more. Also in the learning management system itself, it will flag pages that are not accessible and provide guidance in how to make those pages accessible. It also checks documents. Yesterday, you heard me rail a little bit on PDFs, which continue to be a huge challenge and problematic for accessibility. But so this document checker is by no means perfect. It helps. I mostly look at it as an opportunity to flag some issues and let the instructors know that they need to make fixes. So I want to talk a little bit just about the approach in design and of course design. I want to say that there is no general mandate for making your online course fully accessible at Princeton. Faculty are highly encouraged to do this. Many supports are in place, and we see younger faculty in particular being enthusiastic about designing their courses to be accessible. There does seem to be a generational shift. That's not to say that older faculty aren't doing this as well, but it is weighted in favor of the younger faculty. So this philosophy of accessibility first, designing courses for accessibility, why is this so important? Okay, clearly it is to support those students who have disabilities that require this, that also we are meeting mandates. We do have legal mandates, we have policy mandates. But there's another piece of it that I think speaks to Princeton as a culture. The philosophy of beginning with accessibility has to do with not forcing or requiring students to divulge their disability. As I mentioned yesterday, only about 44% of students actually register with the Office of Disability Services. It doesn't mean that they don't have disabilities, those who aren't registering. And so by designing for accessibility, students can just immediately be more comfortable in the courses. And frankly, students who have preferences for learning are better served by accessibility as well as with universal design for learning, which we also talked about yesterday, and the focus there on providing flexibility and options in all aspects of the course work toward this. So when I think about cultural change, and I'm sure you have heard this many times yourself, we need to change the culture. Key part of culture is practice, right? Cultures are made up of multiple things, but practices are one of them. And so we can't change a culture until practices become embedded and just a standard part of how we do things. So that is what we are working toward. And that wraps it up. I think I've about used up my time. So happy to take any questions.
I don't have a question, but I just wanted to ask because whenever we talk about this issue of accessibility, digital accessibility, when we talk about creating courses, because now we're looking at degree programs, which is individual courses, you're talking about generalist courses, and now we're talking about doing all of that. Making all of that accessible for persons who may not be instructional course designers, who may not be tech savvy, who may be of the older generation or the more, let's call them veteran class, that may not necessarily, be all the way intrigued about all of this new Moodle things that I have to do, alternate text, captioning, etc. Because we may not have the money for all of the technologies, right? But we are going to try to support in some kind of way. But what do you say to the person that says, this is just too much? And we don't have an instructional course designer. We don't have instructional course designers. So it's just too much. And we have this goal of 2027, summer 2027, to have an online degree program, right? So what do you say to someone that says that? It's just too much. I don't understand how we're supposed to do it. When we talk about digital accessibility, you want me to put captions, you want me to watch the text, you want me to watch the contrasts and the colors of the PowerPoint presentation, then I have to watch my layout of the Moodle, and then we're upgrading to Moodle 4.5 every couple of days or something. What do you say?
Yeah, so boy, teaching is labor intensive. When I was designing my own online course, the one that I talked about yesterday, and my own boss would say, why aren't you done yet? And I would say, you've written a dissertation, right? You've written a book. This is like writing a book. It already is so inherently labor intensive, right? So these are no longer think of them, because I've been in this for a while, I no longer think of them as extras. If what you are creating, and this is, by the way, what I also say to our developers, our tech people around the campus, if the project that you're working on isn't accessible, your project isn't done. Your product is not complete. And so, so it is your job, frankly, to teach all of your students, not just some of your students, all of them. That's the job. So, but how do we mitigate, right? How do we help? What are the tools and supports that we provide? So in our case, it's what's in the learning management system itself, right? There are those helps of, we're going to check a page for accessibility, but they're also following essential best practices, right? Like using HTML instead of a PDF, like like alternative text. And when people ask about, well, alternative text, that is, kind of labor intensive. Yes. So describing the whatever it is that you're teaching is the art and the work of teaching. So yeah, you need to describe. You're probably going to do it verbally anyway, right? You've got to write some text. So, but it's putting as many supports in place as possible. Also, we have had this luxury at Princeton where we haven't, had a law because we're not a public institution. You know, those public institutions in the United States are facing new regulations where everything must be accessible by a certain date. So we've been able to, encourage and kind of roll it out in this way. Not everybody is that lucky, but it's providing as much support, training, and tools, automated tools as possible. And ensuring those tools are easy to use, because some tools are very difficult and complicated, and they frustrate teachers. So that's something that we pay attention to is the quality of the tool itself. Does a professor actually want to use it? Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I just want to draw everyone's attention to Dr. Jawala's comments in the text. This is a perfect example of where you can use AI to make your work easier. AI is great at providing alternative text for images, and can also transcribe PDFs into HTML really easily. Additionally, I want to underscore what you were saying about user tools that are already there in the learning management system. All of these things that we're talking about, the learning management system already prompts us to do. I think we've just become accustomed to skipping over that just so we can get our content up. For example, when you upload an image to the LMS, it asks you for the alternative text. Now, what we're asking you to do is not just skip by that, but rather take, 17 seconds for each image just to type in as descriptive a phrase as you can. Good. Dr. Pinder?
Yes, just a quick comment and question. So, Ms. Albert, yesterday I just wanted to extend a grand kudos to you, because I kept hearing in your presentation where you alluded to the partnership with the librarians, and they are really important partners when it comes to accessibility and inclusivity. But my question is, early in your presentation, you mentioned about 40% of students actually go to the office to be tested or to register any challenges they may have, which tells me that there obviously should be some provision even in the classroom where students can indicate to the faculty member. I know one time I was giving a presentation and a student said to me, I really struggled with the contrast, with the color, because I have a bit of a color blindness. And so what I started to do afterwards is, at the end of presentations, I would say, please send me an email or something if you had an issue with the presentation, or something just felt off about it. But are there subtle things or strategies that instructors can actually use in the classroom to pinpoint students with learning challenges or accessibility issues?
So I applaud you for asking for that, opening that up for your students, just let you know that, and then it's private too between you and the student, which is wonderful. And boy, increasing the contrast probably helps other students, or no doubt helps other students as well, as one example. So sort of on the administrative or policy side, students at Princeton are only given accommodations if they register, right? So it could actually be problematic for the institution if a student just goes to a faculty member and says, I need this accommodation. Something like color contrast doesn't seem that, it's not a dramatic example, right? But if the Office of Disability Services doesn't know about it, and then the student makes a complaint, and you may be well aware that the United States is a pretty litigious culture. So it's it's a matter of protection, I think, for this, it's not a question of helping the student. Of course, you want to help the student, but it's sort of protection for the institution and for the professor. So, professors should should encourage students to bring, serious needs forward. It's also the case, I'm told by disability services, I mean, we partner with disability services. I don't work directly with disability services, but where students have not registered, they're older now, they had accommodations in school, in high school, they don't want to do that anymore, they're a young adult, but then they start having issues, right, in the class because they still have that disability and it's proving to be a challenge in their learning. And so, those students are encouraged to come forward, and it's harder, of course, in the middle of the semester because how it is, how busy it is for students and faculty during the semester. But I would encourage students to bring it forth when it really is, bring it forth to disability services, and that ensures that their rights are met, right, and their needs are properly met, and it's all coordinated. Faculty don't necessarily have all the knowledge or the skills to know. They need some guidance from disability services on, here are the things you must ensure, or here are the services we offer you. We can we can make your documents accessible, for example, those sorts of services, so that it takes the burden away from the faculty member.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much, Dr. Pinder. One last question from Dr. Allen. Go ahead, and then we'll move on to the next presentation.
Because we're running out of time, I just wanted to say thank you, Mary Albert, for the presentation. I resonated with a lot of the stuff you talked about because in my previous university, very similar, where we had online courses, degree programs, and postgraduate degree programs, similar challenges. I think the emphasis here is about training. I think, Dr. Bethel, we need to really work on training, on instructional design, learning technologies we're going to need as we introduce our degree programs online as well. But thank you for the presentation. So I stop there. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mary. Again, presentation today has added richness to what you described yesterday. And as I said earlier, I'm keen to see whether we can partner with your department to assist us as we build our disability services in our instructional design units. Our next presenter, and he has been waiting patiently. I've seen him listening and from the expressions on his face, engaging with the earlier presenters, is Dr. Stephen Carlo, Assistant Professor of Education in the Department of Counseling and Leadership from Monmouth University. Dr. Carlo is an equity-driven educator, policy-focused researcher, and transparency-oriented scholar whose work bridges education, law, leadership, and practice. He prepares graduate and doctoral students to lead just and effective schools by strengthening legal literacy, policy analysis, and equity-centered decision-making. His research examines how education laws and policies are communicated, contested, and enacted across diverse contexts, with particular attention to civics education, school safety, AI in education, and leadership turnover. Drawing on his prior experience as a K-12 teacher, Dr. Carlo brings a practitioner's lens to his scholarship, ensuring that policy insights translate into meaningful change for schools and communities. I want you to join me in welcoming Dr. Carlo, and I am excited to hear from him in his presentation. Dr. Carlo, all yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bethel. I'm happy to be here, and I forgot how long I made my introduction. So now I could realize it definitely needs to be shorter next time. One of the things that I just wanted to say, because there's the presenters before me covered a lot of very big, important issues that I was going to talk about. So I'm going to shrink it a little bit also to time. But one of the big things is we're shifting to this online education format that isn't necessarily by itself completely new, because we've been having online education for quite a while. The COVID shift forced everyone into a new reality And then we had the AI revolution that made another big shift. And so, like our one of our earlier presenters was talking about the idea of this being a new change and a new level of elevation in what we do. It's not really so much to me when I think about these things as teaching has shifted as much as the skills and tools we use to do the teaching. Good teaching works online, in person, in hybrid, in any format. Good teaching is good teaching. The problem is now how do we convert that good teaching into the ways that we platform them, into the ways that we present them and provide them for our students, and also to our faculty. Everyone mentioned training. We're all in need of continuous development ourselves. We are not perfect. We do not have all the answers. And even within our schools, we don't have them. We need help and we need to collaborate. And that's why things like this are so important, is to kind of reach across different groups, both scholastically, at different levels, at different institutions in different countries, trying to figure out who's doing it well, who's figuring some stuff out that we can borrow from each other and help each other out. Because that's what good teaching has always been about, sharing best practices along the way and figuring out the best we can do. So I wasn't going to show a PowerPoint because no one else was trying to show a PowerPoint, but I did want to show kind of what the AI tools kind of created because I wanted to see what they would think was a good idea for for this session. So I'm just sharing that mostly so you all can see kind of what it thought I should do today. And so one of the things that I think is great about these AI tools is they create and convert something simple into something very pretty, very aesthetically pleasing. But then again, going back to what two of our presenter says, is that accessibility and then also the human element are important because AI can give you something like this, which is aesthetically pleasing. Don't get me wrong. I changed the images themselves, but overall, this is what it came up with, which is actually my notes basically put onto a PowerPoint. But there's a few things that automatically become a problem for access and accessibility for making this inclusive. So we have to still maintain our own oversight as the human, as the teacher in the room, as the educator in the room, and not lose kind of ourselves in the idea that technology is now taking us over. I know that, we make that joke at many times, but it doesn't really take us over if we're doing it well and if we're putting intention to our work. Because while the tools can be a support system for us and put a lot of the effort out for us, we need to go back and double check everything and make sure that what we wanted to present and what the intentions we had for the lesson are being done. First, everyone complained about the hallucinations, that these tools were basically lying or inventing or making up complete references to stuff, and they were. Many times I've seen it. But at the same time, that's where we come in. That's where you, as the subject matter expert, you as the educator in the room, that's your part of the role, giving it the information and then having it tweak it into something that is ready for presentation, ready for platform use. And then using the tools that are inside the platform. Dr. Albert was talking about using the LMS to basically do audits within your work. That's something that we can intentionally choose to do, and it takes time. But some of that can be done through the help of AI. As Dr. Jawala said, using ChatGPT to create the alt text. If you know what images you're going to use in your module, plug all those images in to ChatGPT ahead of time and say, hey, ChatGPT, give me alt text for all these images. And it'll do that in 2 seconds and doesn't take any of your real time. And you can do that with the free version. You don't need the paid version of ChatGPT for something that's simple. And that's another one of the things we have to kind of identify for ourselves is at what point do we need the paid stuff versus the free stuff? Because the free stuff is phenomenal for most things you're going to do. So if you're using it all the time and you're putting a lot of effort and time into creating stuff on ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other tools available, then it might be worth the extra $20 a month in US dollars, but it may not be. It may just be a waste of $20 for you at that point if you're not doing anything spectacular with it that you could be doing for free. So one of the other accessibility pieces is determining what needs to be paid for versus what could be freeware. Another piece of access and engagement piece is also looking at when you're creating and designing courses in your LMS systems, are you taking them from the LMS to a bunch of other places? Because if you're having to use a bunch of different tools outside of your LMS to be able to make things work, then you might want to decide to use a different tool, something that can be embedded in the LMS you're using. And sometimes that's not available, it's not possible, your LMS just can't work with it. But most LMSs today are pretty good at using third-party tools, and vendors will work with you to try to make that possible so that your you students, whether they have disabilities or don't, have an easily accessible one-stop shop for their coursework. So they're not going around lost, trying to remember a bunch of different passwords, trying to remember different websites, all this kind of stuff that just adds more cognitive load that is just going to make it harder for everyone unnecessarily. You want a course that's hard? Add some rigor. You want a class that is hard for no reason? Add a bunch of confusing things and details. That's not the point and purpose of higher education. So we need to make it streamlined, make it make sense, have routines, have patterns that people can follow so that you're not adding the cognitive load for them trying to understand the course and how you're doing things versus trying to understand the content or the skills that you're trying to teach and work from, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. So the online method, the online change, isn't really so much a shift in how we teach, but the tools we use to get that teaching done. And then the third thing I'll just kind of quickly wrap up with is that engagement is the biggest piece of how this works. We are in a time period, especially for myself, I work with a master's and doctoral students right now currently. So they're all working professionals. They're all busy. They have limited time to work on classwork, limited time to be in courses, limited time to do anything. And so I have to be cognizant of how much I'm giving them, but also what I'm giving them and why. If the work is not meaningful, if it's not intentional, if they don't see value in it, there's no practical real life application today, then why am I doing it? And that's the reality. I did my doctoral program myself as a doctoral student in right after COVID, literally in 2020. I came in the COVID push. So getting my doctorate as a working professional and doing it online and in person and seeing both setups as the student perspective got me to realize why so many of our students switch to ChatGPT kind of thing to give them answers for stuff. Well, if they don't care about it, if they don't feel it's worth their time because you didn't provide them a reason to feel they should, then why wouldn't you cheat? If it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of everyone's time. It's a waste of their time to do it if it doesn't have purpose. It's a waste of your time to grade it and read it if it doesn't have purpose. So purpose-driven work and is really going to be at the end of the day what brings us success in these online programs, much more than which tool we chose to use. And AI tools are amazing, and they're going to keep changing every 5 seconds. There's going to be a new one, and the same new one is going to have a new version 2 weeks later, and another one after that. And so we can't possibly keep up with all the technology tools that are out there, and we can't possibly keep up with all the ways to detect if they've used it. So it's the intentionality that's going to make the difference. We worry about AI as a cheating tool, but it's a cheating tool more because it makes things easy for them to cheat on things that don't have value. If your questions are summarize the chapter, or your discussion post is tell me what you learned this week, that's going to basically lead them automatically to using ChatGPT to answer it. And they're going to be rote versions of answers. They're all going to look the same. And your discussion posts are going to be a waste of everyone's time because they're not authentic. There's no engagement. So looking through your material and looking for ways to AI proof it is really more of finding a way to add context meaning, is to add questions that when the assignment is done, they don't feel that things are harder because they're doing it for real. They feel it's more intentional and reflective, so they're doing it for real. And so, we can also have them do AI attribution. My students right now, when they use ChatGPT or any other kind of AI tool, they tell me in the bottom of it after it's done, right before the reference section, they have to put their AI attribution part. What did I use AI tools for? And some of them use it on multiple assignments. Some of them don't use it much at all. But it gives me a chance to give them best practices, to talk through how we're using it, to show them examples of AI tools being used. AI making my PowerPoint isn't cheating unless the assignment was to teach them how to use PowerPoint. If I'm not teaching PowerPoint, who cares if an AI made the PowerPoint? The content is yours. The slide prettiness? Okay, so you're not a designer. This wasn't a design class. So what is the purpose of the assignment? What is the point of what we're doing? And if we keep it intentional, then I think the rest of the processes will kind of take care of themselves. So yeah, try to keep it short and sweet, and not a whole bunch of slides for you this time.
Thanks so much, Dr. Call. There are some key points that you brought up in there. the point about integration is something that we've been stressing as well on our end, because we had fallen into that trap of 16 different platforms that different courses are using and the LMS. So they would go into the LMS and
Right.
then go here, there, and
And it's a
everywhere.
huge problem for faculty and staff trying to remember
Absolutely.
where things are and how to get to it so
Yeah,
they can provide it for students. Even at Monmouth
absolutely.
right now, where I work, one of the things we're trying to work on is still trying to integrate some of the technologies, not for the LMS
Yeah,
part, but for the other parts about being a staff member, being an employee. There's always so
yeah,
many things and so many tools, and it makes it more
yes.
complicated and harder for no reason.
That literally has been our main task for the last 18 months in the Department of Open Learning, is just trying to integrate everything. And then the other point about predictability, I can't stress enough to our faculty how important it is for a student to go from one course in math to another course in English and another course in geography and still be able to navigate through that course because it's a predictable structure. There's some real nuggets that you gave in your presentation, and I'm sure that we're going to share those with our faculty members. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Dr. Carlo? Go ahead, Dr. Moxie.
Yes, good morning. One of the things you mentioned was this the importance of relevance to students in terms of
Mhm.
engaging them. And that is something that I for one has somewhat struggled with in some of the abstract science courses. And as many science programs and courses sequences are very hierarchical, the student may not immediately perceive the importance of an assignment as a skills development exercise, and
Sure.
so that in and of itself leaves a lot of gaps at the introductory levels, and they carry on into some of the upper level courses as well. Could you comment and provide any insights on how we might manage that to some extent?
Sure. You're
And
not going to get
and
away with all of it.
yeah, Dr. Carlo, before you go,
Sure.
I just want to say, Dr. Moxie is a faculty member who does everything he possibly can to make his courses relevant. Like he engages them in field research, latest weather patterns. So if he's struggling, then this obviously is a real concern. Sorry, go ahead.
No, no worries. There's going to be a certain part of it where we can't fix. We can't get to where we want to be, where every student feels and sees the value of every assignment every time through every course, their entire program. It's never going to happen. But I think what we can try to do at one point is try to show them directly and intentionally and explicitly what this builds on. Instead, like I've seen some coursework sometimes on LMSs that I've worked with people to try to revamp, where it doesn't say why we're doing this. It just says, here's the assignment, here's the rubric. But why? Why should I care? What does this do down the road? And they may not understand it up front, but we can explicitly explain it while we give the assignments. How does this play into the bigger picture? How is this a piece of a bigger puzzle? And it might not work for all of them and it might not get them all engaged, but the more they can understand and the more we explicitly tell them that this is not just good for you to know, but why and how it connects to what they'll do down the road when they get their career. How is this going to help me in my job down the road? Or how is this going to help me get into a program I need? Or how is this going to get me to the next step in an explicit way? And putting it in the coursework, like giving a description box in the assignment of how this helps, what this does, how will I use this moving forward as part of your assignment description.
Mhm.
That's one of the things I've changed in my courses is adding that bubble of like how you'll use this down the road or tomorrow, depending on what it is. Some of the things like I teach some research courses for dissertation work. And yeah, the obvious is it's going to be in your dissertation or you're going to use it for your dissertation. But the dissertation itself is still a giant abstract book. And if you're a first year, first semester graduate student, you don't understand a dissertation itself. Like it doesn't even make sense. It's too big, too abstract, too long term, even with that. So how is this skill going to help me directly? And then how can I then apply that later to a bigger project or to a job or to a task that I would do at work?
Mm. Okay, good. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks so much. And we're going to move straight into our final presenter. Just a quick note, for our next session, we're just going to push that back a little bit. So, Dr. Bennett, don't worry about really having to cut what you have to say short. Our next presenter is Dr. Luke Bennett. Dr. Bennett is an assistant professor of digital technology and literacies at Baylor University, Waco, Texas. An experienced educator and instructional designer, he's worked at multiple higher educational institutions, including Purdue, Clemson, and University of Central Florida. His expertise includes mobile learning, technology integration, distance education, curriculum assessment, and learning management systems. His doctorate is in instructional leadership with a focus on curriculum development and instructional technology, and he is committed to advancing effective learner-centered digital teaching practices. Dr. Bennett, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. It is really good to see everybody here today. Happy New Year to everybody. And just a little bit about myself, just kind of briefly here, adding on to the bio is I'm originally from Miami, Florida. So not too far from where many of you are now. I currently live in Waco, Texas, though, with Baylor University. And I've been involved with online learning for over 15 years, from the instructional design side and the instructor side to managing online programs. And now I teach students how to integrate technology effectively into both online learning spaces and face-to-face learning spaces as well. So my main research area and really my research focus is on the motivations and mindsets to teach within technology-based learning environments, which online learning is one of those. And so why motivation? Well, really my goal is to make sure that every student I come into contact with, everyone I teach, everyone I train, everyone I work with, when they walk into any sort of learning space, they recognize the value and potential of that learning space and understand how to integrate learning technologies, use online learning in very meaningful ways to enhance and support and transform both the learners and the learning process. So to me, understanding that motivation to be in that headspace is really important. So if I take this to something like outside of online learning, like marathon runners, what motivates marathon runners and why is their motivation important? So for those unfamiliar with that process, it's those who run 26.2 miles for fun. So what motivates them to do those type of things? And understanding what motivates them is important because we begin to understand what influences them to experiment with different training programs, shoes, things like that to make them run faster. What influences their willingness to see the opportunities in something like marathon running and things like that. And what is big time for me in looking at an example like that is they hit barriers in their training before they ever get to a race. And so that whatever it is that motivates them helps them overcome those barriers. So for me, looking at something like that and then going, that's really kind of what we do in online learning when we look at motivations and mindsets. It's really a key predictor in quality and sustainability of online instruction and online teaching and teaching within tech-based learning spaces. Being motivated to do so influences our willingness to experiment in that online learning space and influences our willingness to see opportunities. I'm all about seeing the opportunities with technology and integrating technology, working in the online learning space, that kind of deal. Seeing those opportunities. It influences our persistence. And when challenges hit as we're developing courses, as we're teaching, as we're looking at this as a learning space, we see those challenges and we're able to get over them if we're motivated to continue teaching in this way. And so what I have found in working with and training those who are moving from face-to-face to online or doing it myself or way back when being a student in the online environment, we're motivated to engage in these environments and to develop courses at work. Our mind is really the main barrier to doing so. That's what I've seen over the years. Those of us who have been in the game for a while, we've seen the research. We know that the quality is there. You can get great quality, the same quality in the online learning environment that you can in the face-to-face and blended. The opportunities are there and the effectiveness is there. And so my question to you is, as you start to go through this process, some of you may have done it a lot before and some of you may be brand new to it. Can you see the opportunity? Can you see the effectiveness? Can you understand the qualities there? And so my work and teaching really involves in changing mindsets to see opportunities. I don't focus a lot on the bad things that can go on with technology or what we've got to look out for. There are a lot of people doing that, and it's important and it's valid. It's just not what I do. I look at the opportunities. So what I want to do here is just quickly discuss 3 opportunities that help me understand the online learning environment better and that I've worked with people on and have helped them understand it better as well. So first, opportunity 1, you've got to take the opportunity to view the learning management system as a learning space and not a place where you put some educational stuff and students go over there. It is your classroom. It is your learning space. It is an active learning space. It's a flexible learning space. It is a fascinating learning space. And the integrated tools within it allow you to have superpowers. I talk a lot about Batman being my favorite superhero. And it's because he's really not a superhero. He's got no superpowers other than how his mind works. What he does have is an access to a tool belt, a really cool car, a cave with all these cool gadgets that he uses to fight crime. And in every crime fighting context, he knows exactly what tool to use, and he's able to navigate the city in really cool ways because of it. So I'm not a Superman guy. I'm a Batman guy because I think that's who we are as educators. We're Batman. And we're able to use all the tools in the LMS to do what we need it to do. So we have a huge opportunity when we begin to view the LMS, not as just a place where we throw some things or where we might put a video, where we see it as an active, engaging, flexible, and just fascinating learning space. And we can move all around it like Batman can and get to our different students in different ways. So opportunity number 2 is online learning can increase your reach, and it can also increase the voices of your students. We often think, okay, we're going to be able to increase our reach, our educational reach, and be able to meet the needs of some students and reach them who may not be able to access campus, but it's much more than that. You actually increase the voice of your students. So there's always in a face-to-face classroom those students who never talk. Doesn't matter what you do, you might get a one-word answer out of them. You're really trying to engage and you can't. There's something about the online learning space that allows their anxieties to diminish. And all of a sudden, that student who never talks, that group of students who never talk, they are engaged and active. Sometimes they're leading groups, all sorts of different things. So it not only increases your reach, but that opportunity to increase the voices of your students, and especially those who don't often say a lot. So opportunity number 3, you can personalize in ways that you have never considered. There's differentiation of delivery. Sometimes when you're in a face-to-face class, you have to deliver things as is. Online, there's differentiated delivery. And because students may be accessing these things at different points of time from you, you can put it out there different ways, video, text, all sorts of different ways. You can have them engage in games that can help them understand the content you want to deliver. It doesn't always have to be you talking. And that's honestly something I had to come to terms with when I moved my courses online. There's depth and differentiation of projects. You can allow different projects, and you can allow students to go into their context where they're sitting right now and bring something back to the online learning space and engage with projects that way within their context, wherever that may be. Differentiated ways to provide feedback. I have found that text feedback is great. I use video feedback a lot. My students tend to love it. And it's actually really easier for me. I can provide all sorts of differentiated feedback. And if I'm looking at the data and I realize there's a student that's having some issues, I can go into that data and go, okay, let me give them some feedback that really may help them out, or let me meet with them one-on-one. There's all sorts of ways you can provide differentiated feedback for your students and differentiated support for what they're doing. And so opportunity three, that third opportunity, is personalized ways in ways that you've not considered. So there are some considerations for you as you do this, though, because it's a lot. If it's your first time doing this, there is a lot that you need to accomplish, and it may be overwhelming. So here are my top three considerations as you're kind of going through this process. Is one, it's simply not going to be perfect the first time. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be things you really want to change. You may be like, okay, there's not quite enough here I need to do more here, whatever. The first time is never perfect. It often is 2 or 3 iterations of your online course before you actually get it where you want it. And right about that time, you realize you go back through the the cycle of I've drawn a blank on the word, the cycle of looking at your own course, reflecting and making changes based on your reflections. Right about that third time teaching the course, you go back through that cycle and realize you want to do some other things. So it's an ongoing, ever-changing process, and that's a consideration that you should have going into it. Number 2 consideration, do one thing well and build from there. Sometimes you go, I cannot do all of this stuff. Now, things like ChatGPT, they can help you do some of these things more efficiently and better. I can build courses quicker and add more to them than I ever used to be able to do 5-10 years ago. So you can do more now if you use AI to help you out and you know how to do it. However, do one thing well and build from there. And whatever else you can add on from there is great, and you will build over time. And last but not least, again, remember, it's not going to be perfect the first time. Students tend to not care about that. They don't realize your course is not perfect. What they care about is if you communicate and you're present within the course. So if I'm hiring instructors, and I've had to do that before, if I know that the course is not in great shape, I would rather hire an instructor who communicates well and is present in the course. That's what students need, and it's a way to provide that differentiated support. So pretty quick today, I wanted to just take about 10 minutes and talk you through those things and then open the floor for questions. So let me know if you have any questions at this point. And again, it's a pleasure talking with all of you.
Thank you. That was direct and to the point, but it was a mouthful of nuggets to ponder. Anyone have any questions, comments for Dr. Bennett? Go ahead, Mrs. Robinson.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Bennett. So happy to see we actually got it resolved and you're on the call. We had some technical issues, but Batman is here. I mean, I'm not Batman. I'll be Catwoman, I guess. But we were able to resolve the technical issues. But I just want to say that everything that you said is really spot on. The different types of engagement. For me, I like to emotionally get students wrapped into everything that I do as well. I'm not a Batman, but I do like to recreate myself, because I realize that if they're going to come to Moodle, and this is the place that, I want them to be engaged, not saying I have to turn into a clown, right? Because to each his own, right? My personality may be different from the next lecturer, but again, it's how do you engage with your students emotionally, behaviorally, academically? How do you get them to feel your presence? And everything that you said is pretty much spot on. I think sometimes we put resources in the Moodle space, all text, but we do need to find ways to engage and make our presence felt. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and
Awesome.
the learning management systems give you ways to do that, but as you engage, and I agree with you completely, as you engage, the students want to know who you are. You don't have to be a clown and entertaining, but they want to know who you are as a person. They want to know who you are as an instructor, and they want to see that as you navigate the course and communicate with them in different ways. So that's awesome. I just wanted to add that as well.
Fantastic. Anyone have any other comments or questions for Dr. Bennett? I feel like Dr. Bennett from now on our LMS is now going to be referred to as Batman going forward. Already I hear that that's sticking in people's minds. It's a great metaphor, though. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And I'm just going to take this opportunity to thank all of our presenters. We really got a ton of food for thought. Dr. Allen led us off by giving a case study of how her unit at Cambridge created and delivered the the CFTRI course, and how they were able to build accessibility into that course, and how it was, by doing so, how it was able to reach so many institutions and students across the globe. Dr. Jawala, I think he really inspired me to really take advantage of the tools that AI provides that can support learning and can support course building and course design. I suspect that many people are going to be reaching out to you, sir, to try and help them get on board with Claude to start building our own Claude skills. Ms. Albert, again, reiterated how we can support our faculty. We, as a open learning office, can support our faculty, describing how her unit does so and assists faculty to assist the students in making their courses more accessible and responsive to the students' needs. Dr. Carlo, I felt like he knew it was on my mind, because these are some of the three things that I always preach. And he said, first of all, we must be cognizant of ensuring that our LMS integrates all of our learning tools. We design with predictability and predictable navigation in mind. Let the LMS become the background, not the foreground for the student. The learning is the foreground, and build engagement into our courses. And then finally, Dr. Bennett really emphasized that we can use our learning tools first as our superpower, as an opportunity to provide active and flexible learning space. Second, to increase our students' voice. Don't just think of ways that we can use our tools to reach the students. Let the tools be opportunities for them to reach us. And then finally, using our technology tools to help us to personalize and differentiate learning so that we can meet the needs of all of our students. I don't know about you in the room, but for me, this panel has been the best session so far, because it was able to bring so many ideas around a single topic that gave me a rich learning experience. Please, everyone, remember to fill out the evaluation. I think the link has been placed in the chat. Let me take this opportunity to give my thanks to Dr. Allen. Again, a presentation that is inspiring and that continues to want us to do more in the department. Again, Dr. Jawala, thank you so much for those key insights on how we can today get started with AI in learning. Ms. Albert, I'm going to be reaching out to you in the future to see how we can partner more effectively, so that we can take some of the lessons that you have given us. And then Dr. Carlo and Dr. Bennett, some key insights into how online learning can be used, not just to manage crises, but to provide a much richer learning environment for all of our students. Thank you, everyone, and I'm going to bring this session to a close. Again, I would like to remind everyone to please fill out the evaluation session, and to note that because of the time we're finishing now, we're going to push back the Moodle session till 11:15. And note that this is going to be largely a demo session because as everyone would know, we are going to be transitioning very shortly. I want to give everyone an opportunity to see and get an idea of the look and feel of the new platform and what's the same and what's new. So I'm going to actually stop this session momentarily, and then I'll restart it back at 11:15, and I welcome everyone to come back in for the Moodle 4.5 session. Mrs. Robinson, before we log out, any final words?
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of the specially invited guests for really allowing me to pull you all in this with me. From wherever I dragged you all from, I thank you for being so willing to support the cause, and we will be in contact, and we will continue the relationship and the partnership, because this is not a one and done. We don't do that in the Bahamas. Like, we have cousins now, right? So I really thank you all very, very much, and I will talk to you all soon.
Thanks, everyone. Please remember
Thank
to
you
fill
all.
out the
Thank you.
evaluation form, and we will see you back here at 11:15. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.